Welcome to the only place where real, raw, and vulnerable conversations happen with IFBB bikini pros to give you an inside look at their struggles, strategies, mindset, passions, and all of life beyond the stage. This podcast is made to inspire, motivate, and remind competitors and the average gym goer that even the most extreme lifestyles and elite athletes have their ups and downs. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm your host, Celeste Rains-Turk, and now it's time for the Confessions of a Bikini Pro podcast. This bikini athlete just earned her pro card on November 18th of 2023 at the Muscle Contest Masters USA's after competing for 7 years. Technically, it was like 6 years and 11 months. But I was like, come on, 7 years, because you got to prep for those. So she has been working to earn her pro card since 2018 and has competed in over a dozen shows, working hard to make the best of every situation and develop her physique to achieve this goal. She just started offering posing to newer athletes involving feedback, critiques, and routine development. And she also co-hosted a podcast series with her friend May called Bikini Talks, which you can find on YouTube, prior to turning pro, while also being a wife and a mother. So we've got a powerhouse here with us. Welcome to the show, THERESA Mendoza-CURA. How are you doing?
Thank you so much for having me here. I'm doing great. It's a perfect time to just finish off the season for competing and just be present for the holidays with my family and just get a nice break.
Yes.
Thank you so much for having me here again. Appreciate it.
Of course. Oh, I'm so
pretty
happy.
shocked that you messaged me, and I was like, wait, did she just ask me to be in her podcast?
I've been waiting. Are you kidding? Ever since we connected, I'm like, okay, when is my time to get her on the podcast?
I was like, wait, I told May right away, and you messaged me, and I was like, wait, I think Celeste just asked me to be in her podcast? I was like, she did, and she was so happy.
I love that. She's the hype queen.
She is.
Dude, I think I asked you literally the night you turned pro.
I think
I don't remember exactly, but it was like as soon as I saw the news, I was like, no shame. You're coming on the show. So
I was like, that was quick, and I was like, wow.
Yeah, well, you guys had me on yours, which was really fun, and I was excited to now turn the spotlight on you. So you know that every time I start these podcasts, I like to ask if there's anything you do or maybe a ritual you have right before your heel hits the stage.
Oh gosh, it's like for me it's very simple. I say a little prayer, before I go. I practice my posing, I try to maintain my confidence, and I actually check in with my coach pretty much regularly, and just to see if I needed to carb up a little bit more, or if I just need to pump now, or things like that. But mainly is just calming my nerves and just visualizing and hopefully translating that to my posing and my stage presence, and that I don't mess up. You work so hard for so long, prep, and one thing, the day is finally come and you want to make sure everything is perfect. So I just keep it to my, I pretty much stay in my own little corner and just do everything there, say a little prayer, I practice, and just this is it, it's time.
Yes. You know what? When you said that you're sending the photos, you're thinking, do I need to carb up, pump up, all those things. Those are some of the stuff I think that first-time competitors aren't aware of. So I'm really glad that you said that, actually, because, as much as it's great advice to go to a show and watch it, which I do agree with, I think it's also important to know your backstage experience pre-show is going to be very different than what you see as a spectator. There are check-ins you're sending daily in peak week. You're checking in hours, you're waking up at 3 a.m., sending your first check-in, deciding what to eat for that day. And then you're trying to figure out when to pump up. They're lining you up, so you can't bring your pump stuff with you. And then, well, unless it's at a lot of the muscle contest shows, you can. But Yeah, it's sometimes very difficult. Maybe you're lined up backstage. So that's something I don't think a lot of people know about the competing process.
Absolutely. I'm glad that you even mentioned that because, everybody sees, the spectator side of things, but not the backstage, what's happening there, that there's so much things involved, like you need to know your timing, your cue, like sometimes the shows goes really quick, and some of them are just taking forever and you just miss the mark of when you're supposed to like pump up or like get yourself ready or next check-ins, or if you need to take a little bit of water or you know have a little carb in between. It was like definitely different. And like I really, a lot of people get so caught up and excited when they're competing for the first time. They like to talk to a lot of girls, and then of
Mhm.
course you get carried away and you forget that, oh wait, like I need to check in with my coach, especially if they're not there, they're not present backstage. And you forget, like like sometimes when they're talking to me and I said, do you need to check in with your coach, especially if I know that it's like their first time. And I said, it's like, you might want to check in. It's like, I'm not sure when I'm supposed to eat, I'm so thirsty, I'm like so dry, like whatever, like what do you think? I was like, I can't give you those tips, but I definitely suggest that you call your coach right now.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like, so because it's easy to get carried away. It's exciting that you're meeting new competitors and building friendships and all of that, but you don't want to miss all of that hard work and miss it on stage because you forgot to pump up or you forgot to like carb up, or you need just check in with your coach or just practice a few things that you probably miss in your posing, or just slight corrections that you need to make. So I really try to like be more mindful of that because has happened to me. Obviously in that 7 years, like it's like, oh, we have time, and then it's like, oh, bikini girls line up, and you're like, oh my god.
And
I was
then you lined up and you're like, wait a minute, there's 3 classes ahead of me.
it was, and sometimes it happens, like it really
Yeah.
does, and it's so easy to miss that mark, and you just have to be like, I'm constantly like checking backstage with the expediters, and it's like, do you know when bikini's coming up? Is it like half an hour? So and then when I have that idea, like at least you can keep an update with your coach if they're not there. It's like, hey, they said bikini's going to be up in an hour. So, my last meal was at this time. Just wanted to check in. Can you see if there's anything that I need to do? It's like, no, you're still good. Like it's those little things are just very crucial.
Absolutely. It's not like when they say you don't want to be the competitor who misses your time. They're not just saying that to say it. I believe it was my friend Janine. I think it was Janine. She actually missed her pro card win. Pretty sure it was that. I'm pretty sure it was Janine. Don't quote me on this. I'll have to go back and listen. But someone missed their pro card win and had to go back to another national show
Oh
to get
God.
it. So it's so important. And something that I personally have learned myself too is I uh I didn't ever have an experience where I missed it, but one time I was like, I know the show timing. I'm just gonna kind of roll in. And I'm
Yeah,
glad that I did. I was fine, but I realized I probably shouldn't do that again. And I did it twice last year and I was fine, but I was like, one day that could bite me and I don't want that to happen. And then the other thing too is now with so many shows being live streamed, I would recommend buying the live stream if you're staying at the host hotel or even if you're within the general vicinity, but you don't want to be backstage or maybe they're not letting you backstage yet. Have the live stream going on your phone, or if your coach has it, then they can be updating you because then you okay, hey, figure is finishing, or okay, masters just got off. It's your time to start getting ready and find your spot backstage. Like I think it's good to have those things down.
for sure. And even some shows have you download an app. I think it's called Musclewear. I think when I did a show,
Yes.
um, there was a couple of shows. I think I did Sasquatch, and there was like Pittsburgh, North Americans. I believe they had an app where they were actually constantly telling you like who's up. It's oh, it's men's physique, or it's like, oh, now it's women's figure. And then, like you're kind of like, know your timing and your cues. So, okay, it's like, but like with the big shows, there's going to be a lot of competitors. It might take time, and but I'm always somebody who gets nervous if I'm running behind or late. So I want to be there early. So I might be there for like hours sitting. It's like, shit. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
I was like sitting there. I was like, man, it's been like 3 hours. It's
Uh-huh.
not my turn yet. But I prefer to be much earlier than late, because it's like I need to calm my nerves down, like it doesn't mean that you've done a lot of shows or things are just always gonna run perfectly, or you just want to be prepared. I guess that's more me, but I don't like running late for shows. But yeah,
Totally.
absolutely. Like even whether you're doing it's live stream or they have an app or not, I think it's always good to just be staying at the host hotel, just so you have, if you're running a little bit behind, it's easier to get to the stage, or like at least backstage. Um, then that way you're not like running around, you know, like crazy.
Exactly. Well, and you don't want to be getting there and like, where should I sit? Where should I go? It can get busy backstage too. And then for finals, something you have to be really mindful of is makeup artists and tanners. If you're using the show ones, they'll sometimes close down by a certain time.
They
So you don't want to show up right before your class is on for bikini and they've already left. You don't want to be running into that situation. So I'm glad that we covered some of these first show things because I think I haven't discussed it in a very long time, if at all of those, some of those areas specifically. But I want to go back to what you mentioned you do before you step on stage, which is you say a prayer. And you had shared that your mantra, you shared this in a post, that your mantra this year was to dream without limits. And
for
that really guided your prep. So, what does that actually mean to you now that you made one of your biggest dreams reality? And how did it influence your actions during prep?
I think it's been my biggest motivation, to push through any obstacle, like now that I'm thinking, it's been like, wow, 7 years, I carried that through. Like I never gave up. And it's just been just embracing the challenges, and ultimately contributing to my long-term goal of, attaining my pro card. And I just always believe that if I work hard and I just be patient, it will come, and I just always wanted to believe that. And I always will carry that, through my journey, up until like I step on my pro debut, up until whatever next goal is. So I just feel like if you really want it that bad, you'll work hard for it. And for me, it's just like I just never gave up. That's been kind of like my mantra, is just like, you can keep on dreaming. There's no limits to it, you know? That's
So did you ever have a moment where you're like, if it doesn't happen, it's okay? Or were you like, no, it's for sure gonna happen?
I think in the back of my head, I always kind of wanted to believe that it will happen. It will just take me longer than others, Um, and obviously there were like times where I kind of felt like it will push you, it will take you down, for quite a while. And it's like, I don't know if this is really meant for me. I've been trying for 7 years. If I don't get it, then maybe it's time to like, hang my heels and, say goodbye to the sport. But I loved it so much. And I said, like, as long as I enjoy doing it, why give up? You
Yeah,
know? And I think that's always been my thing. And it's like, if I love doing something and you enjoy it, it doesn't matter. I just feel like it keeps me happy. It will
totally.
come.
I really appreciate that because I've also been competing since 2015. And like yourself, I got more serious around 2018 when I really fell back in love with the sport. And I think there's been times where I'm like, I don't know, the division's changed. I can never catch up. That, those types of thoughts go through your head. Then I think to myself, well, what would I be doing? Like, I'm still going to live the lifestyle. I'm still going to push hard. So, like, I'm going to keep going for this because I want it. And it won't define me as a person if I do or I don't achieve it, but it's something I desire and I'm willing to work for because I'd be doing the work anyways.
Sure.
And you've shared how it can be to some people, hearing 7 years can be like daunting, like, oh my gosh, because others have gotten it, like they hop right in and they're a pro the next day. Uh,
Sure. You know,
so, oh,
no,
go
sorry.
ahead. No, you go, I want to hear your thoughts.
No, because like I was hearing this girl who got it for like, she just started prep, and then when, she got like she prepped for a whole year, jumped in a show, she won an overall, then she went to nationals and got her pro card. And I was like thinking, like I sat there, I was like, wow, that's amazing. She got it in one shot in 1 year. And here I am sitting that it took me like 7 years. It almost made me cry, you know.
Mm.
And it was like, but I'm so glad that I didn't give up, because it made me appreciate the sport so much more.
Yeah.
And I swear, like I wanted to cry so bad on stage when they called my name, and I wanted to jump out of stage and like hug my coach and like
Oh,
everybody there who was like my family. I was like, oh, I'm still like,
yeah.
like in tears, like
I
just
love that.
thinking about it. It just made the victory so much sweeter. And I think it's just much more appreciation to the sport, and I love how it, like just humbled me, and the things that I've learned, it just gave me so much growth as a person.
When you say it humbled you, were there times in your journey where you were like, I got this, no doubt about it? I know this was reality for you. Like, I think it was we both competed in 2022 North
Yeah.
American. I think it was there that you experienced that. Is that what you mean when you say it's humbled you?
I mean, there's been a few occasions, but that one hit me a little bit more harder than the other shows. Um, because when you just like think that you've got it, this is it, like this is the leanest I've ever been, like I'm more conditioned than I've ever been. I've been, like stepping on the stage, I was like, I felt confident, I felt like good. And then when I heard my name that it was going to be at 6, I was just like, wow. I almost didn't want to go back on stage, like it hurt so bad. And it took me a minute, like, and then as soon as I got off stage, because I did 3 categories at that time. I think I did 35, 40, and open.
Mhm.
And when I got, when they did the finals and they were only calling the top 5, um, I went back and I think I called my coach. Um, I was talking to her and we got carried away in the conversation. And I didn't know that they already were calling the next batch for the 35 or for the open or something. I forget what it was. And I missed going back on stage
Oh, wow.
finals. And I was like, I am not that sore loser. It was not intentional,
Yeah.
because I was so carried away having to like, what did I do wrong? Did you see something that I was not, did I miss my posing? Did I, did I not carb up enough, or what happened? Like, what do you think?
Mm.
I was just so curious to figure out like what I did wrong. Um, but it took like a while, like I was just very quiet, and I think I felt like I disappointed some people too, because there were a lot of people who were like, "You got this. I see the pro card coming," and you hear all these noises from, it's not noise, but it's just like they just believed in you so much, and I felt like I disappointed them, and but morally I disappointed myself, like I didn't know what to do at that point. But like I was really focused on getting the feedback, trying to understand what I needed to do to fix it. And through off season, I really was focused on that. I was just like, okay, this is it. I need to like go on hard and just figure this out and do the changes that I need to do.
What were those changes that you needed to make, and how did you make them?
So basically, I came in a little bit too lean, and I lost my glutes, my fullness. When you get too lean. So my conditioning was good, but I just needed to fill in my glutes. I need to tone down my shoulders because my upper body always comes, like much more leaner than your upper than the lower body. So
Yeah.
it was a catch 21. You like, if you get too lean, then like your legs are like somewhat there now, but your upper body is too lean. So now you have to find the balance of like your conditioning and pulling back on my shoulders and my upper body. So that's pretty much what I did. I finally, like I really took that to heart and just made sure that I worked on it.
I want to be told to bring my shoulders down. That would be, I'd be like, I did it. Perfect. Let's go, But I think that you took that feedback and you applied it, which is the key, whether it was to grow or to size down. And you make a great point too, like that you could think you're right on the mark, and then one little thing could just not be there. When you had that did you get feedback right after the show with Sandy?
I didn't get to sit down. I didn't get to meet Sandy, but I did email her. Um, I waited for that. It's like, sometimes it
Yeah,
takes a few weeks, and you're just like,
I
oh
know.
my God. But yeah, no, I waited for her response, and like I took that with Michelle and my coach, and we just made a plan, and it's like, okay, we're just gonna keep working on it and just hammer it.
Yeah. How did you bring your shoulders down and then make sure your body looked more balanced on stage?
That was tough because I'm so used to like training my shoulders, and I love training shoulders. In the beginning of the competition, you're trying to build muscle.
Yeah.
And one of the few things that I needed to build was my shoulders. So I was touching my shoulders every other day, until it got to a point where like, whoa, what happened to your shoulder? And I was like,
That's
well, you told me
awesome.
to train shoulders.
Yes.
And but this time around last year, I think it's when it started really, like it was just huge. You could tell like I'm walking and you could see this like boulder shoulders.
Yeah.
And when they told me you need to tone down your upper body because it's just too hard, like my abs were too hard. Like I'm not even trying to like flex or do anything, but they were just there. And there was like during this prep, it was harder because, if you're used to training 5 days, 6 days a week, and then you have to pull back and not train your shoulders, it kind of like takes you off schedule. You're like, wait, something's missing, like I can't seem to train my shoulders. So, or if I do, it's just going to be once a week and it's going to be a light pump. And I'm not used to holding 5 pound bars, 5 pound dumbbells. But I'm like doing my workout, and it's like, okay, don't train your laterals, no laterals for now, don't no upper, I was like,
Yeah.
I do, I
Yeah.
can't talk. It's kind of like plays with your mind too, because you're like off schedule, you're not, you're getting, trying to get off a routine, and trying to pull back. And that was like difficult, like mentally, because you're just like, well, I need to go to the show, I need to go train today, and then like, oh, I can't.
Literally, I know exactly how that feels. Like I'm trying to get my upper body to match my lower body. And I don't even think my lower body's where it needs to be, but judges' feedback has been different than my own view or opinion. And they're mainly saying I need to grow my upper to match the lower, and my lower is good and then the conditioning's fine. And I'm like, okay, but it still doesn't look anything like the girls going pro, in my opinion. I don't say that obviously to them, but I'm thinking it. But I remember training glutes like 3 days a week for years,
Mhm.
years. And then come this improvement season, it's like you're going to train 3 to 4 days of the week, maybe
Yeah.
five, and it's going to be all upper body. And then I made the argument to my coach recently. I was like, I think we need to touch the glutes a little bit. Like, look at these girls' glutes. And then so we do like, glute bridges or hip thrusts, but that's it. We're not doing tons of accessories. We're doing no legs. Like I cannot touch the legs.
Yeah.
So you're right. I had not thought about it from the schedule change perspective, but it does, like in your mind, you're like, I'm so used to this recovery schedule, this trick, because you recover around your workouts too. You're eating around your workouts. So it really does make a difference.
No, for sure. Like it's when you're so used to like growing, trying to catch up with a division, you know what I mean? Like, okay, they tell you to like build more muscle. So now you're like, okay, training 3 4 days a week of your shoulders. Like I'm not meaning like a full shoulder workout, but at least
Right.
if you're doing glutes or that day, at least touch your shoulders, do one set of something, right? So it did help, with the growing part. And then when they told me, it's like, now like get more fullness in your glutes, so like grow your like upper glutes. And like now I'm doing like 3 to 4 times a week of like just glute training. So I just kind of like spread them out a little bit. And then even if I'm doing back days, like I would still touch a little bit of the glutes. So it's like having to find the right balance and just making things work when you're so used to like, oh, this day is shoulder day, this is back day, this is glute day, this is hammies, like, oh, this is active recovery, day. And you have it all scheduled for years, and all of a sudden there's a shift, and then when you change your shift, because you're so used to a certain routine, it's like plays with your mind, it takes time to adjust. And for me, it was like that 2 or 3 months of just adjusting. It was like, whoa, this is much tougher than it is, because it's not just like, for me, I guess the pressure was more of like I really put a lot of pressure on myself, because this is like I have to, I want this so bad. I want everything to be perfect, like, but I don't want to overdo it, but not like underwork. But you feel like sometimes you're doing less work because now you have to pull back a little bit.
Yeah.
And like I have to constantly check in with my coach, because I know my head is like running wild, like, is this good enough? Is this like, am I overdoing it? Like, I don't want my shoulders to like, get too crazy. Like, is my glutes okay? Do I have enough pump? Is it more roundness? Do I need more like, tapering? Do I just, like, is my hamstring tie-ins popping? Like those little things. And it was just like a lot of, yeah, my brain was just like going wild. But it takes a good coach to just say, it's okay. You need, trust me, it's okay, slow
Yes.
down. And that's like, I think, that's having a coach to like really see you through and have an open communication about where you are mentally in the game. And it's like, even emotionally, like it really helps a lot to just have like, tell you, need to stop thinking.
Yeah.
It's okay. You got to trust me. And that's all I need to hear. That's like, okay, I need to like slow down.
Totally. Because when you've been in it for so long and you're so committed to the goal and you've come so, so close, you're hungry for it. So you think, how can I accelerate this growth? How can I accelerate to that end result? And sometimes that's the last thing you need to do. It's more like sometimes it's the pulling back, it's the slowing down, it's the like remastering some of the basics, even that can make all the difference.
For sure. It's like, yeah, you're for sure. I like that you touched that. It's like almost going back to the basics of like retraining yourself and having to like, okay, this is the new routine, and you
Exactly.
have to get used to it. And you have to like slowly ease into it and sometimes it takes you like a couple weeks. Sometimes it takes you more than everybody has their own phase of like, adopting. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and then it makes me think too, that's a big difference between a competitor and someone who lives the bodybuilding lifestyle. The competitor will do what they need to do, even if it means training in a way that doesn't look like normal. Like it's not a normal bodybuilding split that you're going to find on an old bodybuilding.com forum, or even, I don't know what it looks like now, but you're just not going to find it there. But when you're a competitor and you need to train for aesthetics, you're gonna, some people be like, all you do is train upper body. All
Mhm.
you do is train legs. You're like, well, that's all I need to train right now. And it can be difficult for those who don't compete to comprehend. But like you said, you have to trust the process. You have to trust yourself. You have to trust your coach. Now, you work with someone special who I've actually had on the podcast. She was one of the very, 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 very very first guests. Yeah,
Wow.
I want to say she was in opening week of the podcast, but now I just remember she was one of the very first. If she wasn't in the very first week, which I'm pretty sure she was, but Michelle, so talk to us about what changed when you started working with her and how that's influenced this more competitive phase of your road to pro.
So I started with Michelle back in 2018. Um, when I was when I started in 2016, it was just like I was doing it for fun, but when I joined with Michelle, she definitely, I feel like maybe because of the 2 years that I was off and then, just like trying to build myself and get ready to compete again, she definitely had showed me more of the potential of what I can be and that I can be competitive. And that was like, she's tough, she's very straightforward, which I like, because I don't like any like flowery stuff. I just want you to give it straight to me because I'm stubborn in some ways. So I need somebody who's like really firm. It's like, if you want this, Teresa, I really need you to like focus on this and be serious. And it's like, okay, great. And it was awesome because she just like, she's very realistic. It's like, it's gonna take time, it's not easy to build muscle, and if you're consistent about it and you're serious about it, you're gonna see the fruits of your labor, right? So it's just, you need to be patient. And I've had to like, like soak that in, and it's like, okay, it's gonna take time, you know. But I had the biggest transformation with her. And every year I step on stage, my physique was changing every time. And because I trusted her, I was like, I know that she can take me to where I need to be and actually surpass my expectations, and I wanted to stay with her until I get my pro card. And I said, like, I really want to do this with you. I want to get my pro card with you, and she just like, when that connection happened, like there's more trust, there's more like, I know this is the athlete that's going to work hard for it. And it's good because it's like, when you're invested and you're both invested, it's just like, it's only a matter of time, and I
Mhm.
always believe that. So I'm just so glad that I found her, because we just kind of like mesh, and we work well together. I'm a good worker. You tell me what you need to do. You tell me what I need to do, I'll do it. You know what I
Yep.
mean? I'll execute. Just tell me what I need to do.
Yeah. Give me the process. I'll take it to completion and then we can adjust.
For sure. And ever since then, it's like, like, okay, Teresa, let's just work on this. When I had my high, she was there. When I had my low, she cried with me. And,
Mhm.
it's been a great journey. I can't complain. It's all part of the process. That's why it's beautiful at the end when I got my pro card. It was just like, wow, we worked so hard for this long and we finally made it, you know?
Yeah, I think that's really beautiful to have that type of relationship with your coach. And when you know your coach believes in you, it's easier to trust them also, I think, because
For
you know
sure.
that this is guidance coming from someone who actually believes I'm going to get to that result. And you would almost not even recognize your like when I tell you I went through every photo on NPC News Online and I was like, is this the same Teresa? I obviously I knew it was, but I was like, if I
Oh
didn't
no,
know or we had never connected, I could have probably been like, I
that's
think
not
they
you.
got the name in the same category, because you've changed so much. Like you've built so much muscle, and that's a testament to that time. And I think some of us get discouraged before we break through that and we actually start seeing that. So, what do you think changed in your training, your nutrition? What had to change to support muscle development?
I think it's just more consistency, like having to um putting muscle is not easy. You have to be consistent in your training, your nutrition, and incorporate recovery. Recovery is important as much as your nutrition and your training. And just focusing on progressive overload, maintaining and just adapting a routine, and that's the hardest part because I knew it was going to come, but it was going to take a long time. And some of us have the great genetics to like build like really quick, and some of us don't, and we have to like build from scratch. I mean, even though I was athletic as I was growing up, it doesn't mean it automatically translated to the sport. I was like, oh, I can do this, but that's not for this sport because it's very like specific. targeting physique is like, okay, you need to build shoulders, you need to like have like a tighter waist, you have to have glutes, and not just glutes. Just because you have glutes doesn't mean you're fitted for the category. You have to make sure that it's full all around.
It's bikini glutes.
Yeah, like bikini glutes are hard. Like I think it's the toughest one to like ever build. Your shoulders are going to come in much faster than, but some people are just more, they have more of a background in, like in sprints or like in running. So they have more legs that they can work with, that they don't have to build so much, or, they have the glutes, but they just need, everybody has something to work with, right? And focusing on those little things is just like it just takes time, and you just have to be patient with it. I think that's the biggest thing I could probably like say about that. Yeah.
I like that. Now, what was your athletic background growing up?
So I was in gymnastics and I was a cheerleader. I did a little bit of track. I did long tennis. And
Hmm.
then after after school, like after giving birth, I wanted to go back into doing something active. So I went back to, I actually did try, I tried CrossFit, and I thought it was like maybe, because I wanted something a little bit more movement, like,
Yeah.
um, and I actually enjoyed it. And I did that for maybe 5, 7 years or something. Um, and actually that really has helped me to just like stay in maintenance, like, okay, I know this is going to take time to build. I was actually competitive in CrossFit until my height was like just not, cannot compete with other things. Height restriction. My height was like, okay, I can't compete in that because I lack height. I can't, I mean, I can't carry like more than like if a standard of a 125 and I'm only 90 pounds, like, so it was like at the beginning
But
it
they
was,
don't have height categories in CrossFit. Is that what you're saying?
well, they have like, I'm trying to remember what they call it, but they do have, for example, it's not a PR, but they would call it like, okay, if this is the standard, you have to like lift 125, like 12 times for this, and then go run and do like whatever.
Okay, so they have certain
They have
like
certain,
benchmarks you have to start
yeah,
at just to be entered into the competition,
yeah.
essentially.
Some competitions are just like, when you get to the real competitions, you know, you can only do so much. I mean, like, hey, put me in burpees. I won't have a problem. I'm closer to the ground, right? You
Yeah,
can, you ask
exactly.
me to do pull-ups, I can do pull-ups. But when you're starting to like talk about weights, if you don't have much mass, you don't have it's going to be harder for you to like carry more weight, right? You can
Yeah.
only like do so much with your weight. Like if I was 90 pounds, I can't, it's going to be harder for me to lift like 200 pounds, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, but if you tell me like, okay, Teresa, can you deadlift? Like, you know, what can you deadlift? Like I don't mind, I can do like a big, heavy deadlift. I can do like 225 max. And for a 90 pounds, that was pretty good. But
Oh
if you're
yeah.
going to snatch and then, a 125, that's going to be different, So
Yeah.
it's like, I had a little bit of like that stopped me a little bit, and I started having a little bit more of injuries. So I had to like push back, and it's like, okay, it's time for me to move on. I needed something to like help me with my physique, to just maintain it. And actually my coach back then, she was actually a bikini competitor, and she
Hmm.
wanted to try and see if she can get some of the girls to try and compete. And I kept on saying no for like 3 years. And eventually it's like, no, you're never gonna let me like wear that tiny bikini and those like, clear shoes or whatever.
Yeah.
And it looked like stripper shoes for me
I
at the
was
beginning.
just about to say you can say stripper heels if that's what you're thinking.
No, for sure. I was like, and then why do you have to like bend over and like show your,
Uh-huh.
I didn't understand it. I
Yeah.
basically did not understand the sport. I have no, like I knew that it was bodybuilding, but it was just kind of like I could never see myself doing it. And eventually some of the girls joined in, and I saw their transformation, and I was like, wow, they look so good. And then I was in a certain phase in my life where I was just like, I felt like I was drowning in my situation, and I needed to get out. I needed to do something for myself. It was also felt like it was time for me to move on from, CrossFit and do something else. But still active, you know, like doing something for myself where I can work more on my physique. And I was like, sign me up for it. And I was like, they're doing a show in 7 weeks. And I
And
want to
that,
jump into that show.
holy moly.
I have no idea what I was doing. She was just like, what? I was like, that's 7 weeks.
Oh my gosh.
And I have no clue. And she was just like, she said, it's too short of a time. And I was like, I don't care. I just want to do it. And it was like no way of like convincing me otherwise, basically. So she just like, okay, if you're serious about it, do this. And I was like, oh, I can't do an hour and a half of that.
Yeah.
Training. And I was like, I have you know, I didn't know what I was getting myself into. And it wasn't until after that first show, and I was like, wow, I I guess 7 weeks was not it. But I know, you know what? It was fun because it was, if I had not done that, it probably would have not been in my turning point because I thought it was going to be one and done. You know, I just wanted to experience it. But it actually, I did enjoy myself. And I felt like it was my Victoria's Secret moment. I just
Yeah.
walked on stage and it's like, my friends were just like, and I forgot all about the judges. And I was just like looking for them and like, where are you guys?
That's so cool. I love that.
But it was just fun for me. And then the second time around was just like, oh, I want to be a little more competitive. So I did
Mm.
like more of I think a 16-week prep. But you know, I needed more time. You know, I knew it was going to take time. But it just became more and more competitive after that. And it was just like, okay, I think I really like this sport. It's time.
You just made me think of something. Looking back, do you wish that you wouldn't have competed as often as you did? Or are you like, and just instead just been in full grow mode that whole time? Or are you glad you competed as much as you did?
You know, I really I wouldn't say that I competed that much because I've only did like 2 shows a year. But I didn't have, I wish it was just explained to me how much longer it would take to be more competitive. Um, but I have no regrets. I think all of this led to this, you know, it was just all a learning experience and just enjoying the ride and just like, you know, this is every time I get to step on stage is an opportunity. Every prep is an opportunity. Um, I just keep on thinking I'm blessed to have that time and my health and I can actually compete and prep for a show and that my family has allowed me to compete and be supportive about the sport. So I think everything is just a learning experience for me and just enjoying the ride.
I love it. Let's talk about your family because you have their support. So, how do you, first of all, how did you enroll them into this vision of you becoming competitive in this sport? And then, how has your schedule and your family life and your relationship evolved because of this?
You know, I'll say at the beginning it was a little tough because it was hard. You know, they didn't understand the sport, and I was learning about the sport as well. So they didn't understand how I was prepping for like my food or like why I was taking too long at the gym, or I have a regular job, you know, from like 9 to 5 or 8 to 5, whatever. And then I wake up early to do my cardio and then go to work and then go to the gym and then come home at like 9:30 or something. It was just like it was tough, you know, they didn't understand what I was going through. But as it started to like show on stage, like they actually see the transformation with me. I think they understood like, oh, this is not just like something that she just wants, but we could actually see how it has transformed me, you know, not just, you know, physically, but like just having to balance out family time. That's why I didn't want to compete too much. I had to like take a break and do like say, hey, I'm gonna do like 2 shows and then take a long break, go for like 8 to 10 months, and then start prepping again. I needed to make sure that I wasn't being selfish with what I want, you know. I needed balance. I needed to make sure that they're included in there. So I
Hmm.
think that has helped a lot with, you know, with them being supportive as well, because I've given the time that I need when I need for myself and when it's time for to like give it to them as well. Um, but like my husband has been really supportive, even though he's not in the sport, he doesn't understand it. I think once he saw the struggles that I go through, I think he felt bad. And later on, he was just like, "What can I get for you? Like, do you need fish?"
Uh,
And he would
uh,
get grocery for me, or it's like, I'm running late, and I was like, "Why are you taking so long?" I was like, "Do you want me to like cook your rice or like so it's ready when you get home?" Like those little things. I mean, I'm so appreciative of him, and you know, my kids never really complain. I mean, they've been like the best. I've been blessed with my family. I can't complain. I mean, not everybody has that kind of supportive family, but I do. So I'm just very thankful for them.
there must be something in your approach and how you go about it that allows them to be so supportive instead of maybe resentful or wishing you wouldn't do it. So when you said that sometimes you have to just take that time to be with them, how does that look compared to when you're in that mode of maybe prep mode or focused on that goal?
So even though when I'm at prep, you know, like I try not to miss out on regular things, you know, like, oh, we're going out, you know, like, and I'm just like, no, I can't because, you know, I can't eat that. Like, I try not to like put, not trying not to be selfish and put them in my situation. I try to like put myself in their situation and what it feels like to be in their shoes when they're hearing all these excuses. So for me, that was like, okay, I need to like a reality check. You know, this is they don't revolve around my life and my schedule. I have to adjust in their life and what they're waiting for from me. You know, like they needed my attention. They wanted me to be present, you know, when I'm, you know, with them and not just complain about like, oh, I'm so tired. I'm like, you know, like I'm just so exhausted. I don't want to do that. I have to go home and do my cardio. Like, I mean, nobody wants to hear that, you know. So when I'm there, I was like, okay, so where are we going? I was like, oh, we're gonna eat out. I was like, okay, you know, I'll go with you guys, you know, and I'll just sit there. I'll watch them, and I'll be like, how does that taste like?
Yeah.
I say, is it good? I say, can you rate it 1 to 10? Like,
I was gonna say like when May would do that for you.
oh my gosh, she did. It was kind of crazy. It's like, oh, I saw these brownies. Do you want me to tell you what it tastes like? And I would be
So
like, okay, okay. You know, but it would, I actually enjoy it more now. Like I appreciate it more. Like it's not so bad, you know. You don't have to miss out on life when you're in prep. You know, like it's funny because even if we have like a friend's birthday or an anniversary, like a wedding or something, you know, you don't have to miss out and say, no, I can't eat that. And it's like, you know, you just go there. And then sometimes they even ask me, it's like, Teresa, what can you eat? Like, can we like grill some fish for you? It's like, no, 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 don't worry about me. It's funny how they all just adjusted to it without me asking. I
how
think
nice.
it's just kind of like I guess just been so lucky with my friends and my family who's been just there. If they know I'm bringing a Tupperware, I never make an excuse, you
Yeah.
know, for them to like complain about, you know, like, okay, you're not here, you're like just so exhausted. It's like, you know, you're not present. I'm just like, no, I need to make sure when I'm there, I'm like, you know, in the conversation with them. I'm just, you know, like sitting down with them. If they're drinking, I have my glass of water with ice and I'll be like, cheers. It's like, I'll be like, come on, chug, chug, chug.
Yes.
You know, like still be part of the party, you know, be present. I think that's the most important thing. It's just be present.
I really appreciate you saying this because as much as people will say bodybuilding is a selfish sport, I really don't think it should be or has to be. I think when we make bodybuilding a selfish sport, it creates a story that we're not available for people when we're working towards our goals. And if bodybuilding is a 24/7, 365 sport, That's not a good life. I mean, a selfish life is not a good life, in my opinion. And I hope I don't ruffle some feathers with this, but like you don't have, bodybuilding doesn't have to be selfish. There's selfish attributes to it. You're eating maybe multiple times a day, having to take up kitchen space, you're going to the gym hours on end, like all of those things. Yeah. And it can be lonely at times, but you just detailed really beautifully how you can stay involved, how you can be selfless, and how you can maybe budget your energy to still go to the people and the other areas of your life that matter to you.
There has to be like a balance check, you know, of it when you like when you're around with people, it doesn't have to revolve around you and what you're doing. Oh, I'm in bodybuilding, I'm competing, I have to
Yeah.
I have to be do this. If you keep on saying that, just remind yourself how many times you said I.
Mm.
And I put myself out of that situation where I'm just like, okay, I need to check because it doesn't revolve about, you know, like they don't have to keep on adjusting on my lifestyle. I have to adjust to theirs. This is just not about me. You know, they're more bigger than anything else. You know, so for me, it was just like, okay, I need to be present. I need to be there. Like, okay, it's like, oh, when's Thanksgiving or when's like this? Okay, it's like, do you guys, what do you want me to do? Like, you know, be involved. You
Yeah.
know, they're trying to understand you as much as you should be understanding their situation. So you have to like keep on checking on yourself and say, hey,
Are you a competitor looking to make mental gains and further your personal development? Are you struggling with the post show blues or feeling the pressure of prep? Maybe you're lost somewhere in the middle and not sure what's next. If you really want to make peace with food, your body, and your goals, then I highly recommend you check out my competitor card deck, which can be found at www.celestial.fit/cards. This is a free resource for competitors, and the deck includes 3 different series. One is affirmations and I am statements, another is the thought provoking question prompts that you could journal on or just think about, and the last deck includes action steps with specific mentorship that is going to support you in those areas of which I just mentioned. So whether you're looking to feel better in your own skin, develop a healthier relationship with food, feel more motivated, connect deeply with yourself, or really get into your mindset to bring you closer to your goals, then these cards are for you, and I would love to see you utilizing them. Again, you can visit www.celestial.fit/cards to download yours right away.
just be
I
present.
really like that.
You know,
I'm just so glad we're having that conversation because the narrative around bodybuilding is generally that it's selfish. And I just wish that we would have these conversations more, because if we enter into a sport that's perceived selfish and we make the effort to be selfless throughout it, we can change the narrative around the sport and potentially create more positive viewpoints and perspectives of the sport and of the athletes who compete in it. And that's why I love doing this podcast too, because I'm like, these aren't just competitors. These women are doing all the things that most other women are doing, if not more. And it's, you can do all of it and it can be very gratifying. And you're a prime example of that. You're also, like you said, you're a mom too. So, and you said your kids support you as well. So when you have this support system and then you go to this most recent national show and they're all there cheering you on and you just won your pro card, what's that feeling like to see them and know that they got to witness that too?
it almost makes me cry just like thinking about that because in the 7 years, I haven't had them like watch me in a show because I've done like a lot of like out of state shows. I was always traveling. My very first show, my husband was there and my daughter was there. Um, but I wasn't really serious back then, you know. But when I started becoming more competitive, it was harder to bring them around because, you know, like they have their schedules as well. My daughter's working or in school or my kids have their own plans and as they get older. So I was doing everything by myself. So this one was very special because I really wanted to do something local. I didn't want to travel for a national show this year. And when I picked this show, I told my husband right away, I want you to be there. And I asked my daughter if she could make it, and she was like, okay, I'm gonna be there. And I was just like, I can't believe like how much that means to me, like, for them to be present. And then last minute, my son showed up too. And it was just like, my heart was just full. It was just like so complete. And my best friend even made it. She drove like 2 hours just to make it there and witness it. It was just like, this is so beautiful. Like, how could the timing be so perfect to just have them there for my pro win? You know, it was just like, I, I'm just lost for words, but I'm just like so thankful that they're there. I mean, I wouldn't be able to like do the things that I do without them. Oh, make me cry.
I think that's so beautiful. Like you're so genuine in this. And did knowing they would be there influence your behavior or attitude toward this prep?
Uh, you know, it it made me want it more. Like I really wanted to do it for them. That
Mm,
all these years I wanted to finally pay off.
yeah.
That all of their patience and, just being supportive, that I was working hard for that. So it was kind of like great to have them there. And like even like my son, it was like I was just like shocked because I was watching the video from Muscle Contest. He was like, and I was like,
Oh, that's
I did,
awesome.
it was just like such a, I don't know, it was like I've never seen my son or my kids like so, or even my husband like there to like, to be so happy and proud of what I've accomplished, and they're all part of it.
Yeah, your husband was rocking an awesome shirt too.
It was May's idea, which is great. And I was like, I don't know if I can want to like, do that. It's like, no, let it.
I love it. I love that.
And I got it for, and I was like, okay, your shirt came. And he was like, that's a shirt I'm gonna wear. It's like, yeah, you better wear it. And
So it
I think,
wasn't voluntary.
but no, and he was just like, oh, it looks nice. And
Aw.
then when I saw him like walking, and I'm like, oh, they actually, and I was like, yep, I have it. I'm wearing it.
I love that. That would be whenever I see families come wearing shirts like representing their person, or they even if they have signs, I just think that's so cute. And I love that energy of support. And I think we need to see more of that because that shows that you maintain relationships throughout a journey and they see that and they want to support you and they want you to know they see that and to have them all show up and to want to win it for them. What was the conversation at dinner later? That's what I want to know. Like, was it normal day the next day? Like, what was the
It was pretty
conversation?
normal. It
Normal?
was pretty normal. They were just like, you could tell like they were just very happy and proud. Um, and they were just like, it's funny and it's cute because they're all like, Mom, do you want more? Do you want like donuts? Mom, do you want? It felt so bad for me that I was so hungry. They were
Yeah.
just there to feed me. It's like my husband was like, "Oh, I'm ordering pizza tomorrow, and then do you want burger?" Like he was just offering anything because he saw me on
Yeah.
TV. I was like sitting on the table, and I've never felt so hungry in my life that
Yeah.
day. And I started crying.
Yeah.
And he was,
Totally get that.
I think he felt so bad for me. He would looked at me, it's okay, dear, just a few more days.
Aw.
He's so sweet. He was just so sweet.
That's so sweet.
And
I think that
my daughter was
you're
like, Mom, I got you boba.
how cute.
Yeah, they're so sweet. I
How
just love
old are your kids?
my daughter's 21 and my son is
Wow.
3.
Wow. Wait a minute.
I know. Like everybody's like shocked. It's like, what? You have a
Well,
twin?
like I told you before we hit record, I'm like, I didn't even know you were a master. I mean, I knew, but I could never conceptualize it because to me, like I still think you're 30. Like
Oh, thank you.
I
Appreciate
literally, yeah, seriously. So it's awesome that you embarked on this journey. You're showing other women too. You're showing other moms as well. And now that you're in your improvement season, after having been so depleted, I'm curious how your reverse has been, how your post show has been. Like, how have you find what approach works for you?
Like every off season's a little different, like through the years, it's always going to be like a little struggle at the beginning, having to transition. Obviously you're so starved from, you know, competition, especially in the last few weeks. And then all of a sudden you finally have a little bit of freedom, not just a little bit, but like, that you have no show coming up. And plus it's the holidays.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, it's the holidays. Let me get through the holidays real quick and then I'll start on New Year's, right?
Yeah.
And it's like slippery slope, but um trying to manage that is just trying to be more mindful. It takes practice, to get off season. Like it's not always going to be perfect. Some after post shows are much easier and some are just like it's not perfect. It's just hard.
Yeah.
It's, it takes you like a couple weeks or even a month sometimes to just like go through the process of adjusting, like, oh, like I went a little bit over than my surplus, because I missed having chocolate or ice cream or whatever. But this season, so far it's been a little bit of a struggle, but at the same time, I was being more mindful of the things that I eat. So just for example, we just finished in the competition and it was like Thanksgiving week.
Yeah.
I we're going for like a buffet, like this is like an opportunity to just like eat with family, right? So what I do is just like I have like a plate and I do like a sampler. So basically it's a buffet. I have a little bit of something. So just so I'm not missing out, but I'm not totally, depriving myself, but I'm not going overboard either. So that has been very helpful for me, is just having like just a little sampler plate, and then I kind of a little, I indulge a little bit on the dessert a little bit, and then the next day I go back and I do my training and I just be mindful of all the things and just like, try to balance things out. But yeah, that takes a while, but everybody's different going off prep. And I think the biggest thing is like having a coach post show is a good investment. A lot of people just, okay, competition season is done, so I don't need a coach right now. I'll just handle my own myself, this off season until I'm ready to go back on prep. But the accountability is much harder. I think, going on prep is tough, but it's more tough getting off and going on a reverse, because it's easy to go on your surplus and you're going way in your surplus. So this is just like a good be open-minded and like have that open communication with your coach, and just say, hey, I'm really struggling and I don't know how to control myself and all of these things. And it's like this is like a good checkpoint to have and just get you back on track. So have that communication open, and just make sure that you are, because helping you like get through your reverse.
Definitely. If you can't have those types of conversations with your coach, whether it's the win, like if you could only celebrate wins, that's a problem. Like that's a red flag. And as far as holidays go, a recommendation I always make to clients, even if it's just for social events, is take a little bit of everything, like a spoon of everything. Because then you've tasted everything and mentally you're okay, that. But then go back and get like the full serving of what you actually liked the most. You'll be less likely to offend people too, because you're like, well, I already tried everything. But then you just get what you really want. And a lot of my clients have reported that's helped them in the holidays, because they generally will in the past have just as much as I can of everything. So I appreciated when you said you get a sampler plate, made me think of that. And I wanted to share it. And I also like how you touched on it can look different season to season. I think that's because preps can look different season to season too. So what your body needs and what kind of response you might have mentally can change. Now, I want to hear what your next plans are. So fill us in on, now that you've won your pro card, what is next?
I haven't really thought about it yet.
Just soaking it in.
I know I'm still trying to soak it in and it actually happened, you know? It's like, wow, did it really happen? And I have to like look back and like, oh, there's my trophy. Oh, there's my
You can't like sign up for the next NPC show that crosses your feed. You're like, oh wait, that's not the show I need to do.
I know. I was like, I think for now, I definitely want to do a pro debut, hopefully next year.
Okay.
When, I don't know, what show, I don't know. But I definitely wanted to maybe send Sandy an email and just get a feedback. You know, doesn't mean that I won the pro card, that, you know, automatically just jump into a show and just like hope for the best, right? It's going to be a different league. It's going to be a different type of girls that you're competing with. And you definitely want to be competitive, you know, like in the same league as those girls. So for me, I think it's just like taking that feedback and see what I can work on during the off season and, you know, start picking the show that would like be a good match and when to start. But yeah, I'll be meeting Michelle soon, and we're probably going to talk about that so we can plan more on 2024. I'm not planning on taking a long break, uh, or at least like wait a year to compete. I definitely want to take the opportunity while I still have it, you know, and just enjoy the moment.
Love that. Yeah, like one of my least favorite questions to ask is actually what's next, because I feel like it makes people feel like they have to rush out of where they're currently at. So I'm glad that you expressed you don't have like a set need or timeline. You know that next year for sure you want to make your pro debut. Now, you had expressed in a, I want to say it was a poster, it was your recent podcast, that you're going to be competing in the Masters pro show. So, what do you hope to accomplish in your career as a pro, and why did you decide to fully commit to Masters, especially when you've done well at the Open division?
Um, I think it's about time that I just like focus on one, you know, like in the Masters division and being on the open and give, and I think my opportunity is there and not in the open. And I feel like this is sorry, I totally blanked out.
No, you're good. You're good. What is it that you're, why did you choose the Masters pro shows, and then what do you want to accomplish in your career as a pro?
You know, for now it's just like I just want to be competitive and be in the same league as those girls and just and hopefully one day make it to Masters Olympia. You know, like that's I think that's everybody's, you know, goal. And once you get your pro card, you want to be competitive and win some shows and hopefully one day have the opportunity to step on stage in the Olympia, right? I think every girl who's competitive and have that dream or goal, right? It's just I'm just taking it one step at a time. So I just want to make it to one show for now and be competitive in that show and keep on improving until I can be and start winning those shows and hopefully earn my way up there in the master.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'll be awesome. I love that goal. And I like how you said that you're identifying where your opportunity is and where you want to take that. So I know we've touched on so many different topics. Now, is there anything I didn't ask you that you wish I would have before I get your best advice?
Uh, I think we touched about a lot of things, so I think we're good. We touched about family, about support, you know, training and off season prep. I think we're going back on stage and prepping for that. I think we tend to touch a lot. So yeah, I think we're good.
Definitely. Yeah. And if there's follow-ups, you guys know you can always reach out to us online as well. Especially when we share like how you can connect with us. It's nice to hear from you guys. And yeah, so let's get your best advice then. What is your best advice for someone who's never competed before but would like to? And then your best advice for somebody on their road to pro.
Oh, there's gonna be a lot. I'm gonna be like probably just
Ramble on.
rambling off, you know. So I think the first advice is like seek guidance from an experienced coach. You know, definitely if you want to, if you're serious and you want to get into competing, that's definitely one. A lot of us are going to be asking different people and bikini competitors for advice, but I think, you know, the best ones to ask are experienced coaches. So you know where your starting point is and what you need to do to start your journey. For those who are already in training, or like, you know, prioritize consistency, you know, in your training and your nutrition. Embrace your journey, you know, be patient because it's going to take time. Take these challenges as opportunities, learn from your failures, never give up. And, you know, if you really truly want it, it's going to happen. So success is something that often lies with our, you know, resilience and just the continuous growth and staying true to your goals. So I think those are pretty much like some of my advice for somebody who's like starting their journey or is getting into it. And just, I think, just embrace the journey, you know, like the mental and physical challenges of it as well, and come with it in as a positive mindset, you know.
I really love that advice. No, that's awesome. And I'm glad that you shared all of that too, because I think it actually summarizes so many of the things that you shared on our episode and a lot of the stories that came with it. Even just your emotional tone and your emotional investment in this journey that still rings true. It's like, okay, that's worth something to consider. It's like have that guidance, have that investment early on, like be invested in this journey if you're going to do it, and then know that it's still going to take some time no matter how bad you want it. So you're an example of that patience and that resilience. So I think it's really amazing that you now get to carry that title with you, knowing you earned it. You know, everybody earned it, but it's like, wow, that, like you said, is so sweet. You know, you got it after all these years. So how can people follow your journey moving forward? How can they connect with you or find you or even inquire about posing coaching?
Oh, so yeah, you can, I think my handle is THERESA _ IFBB Pro on Instagram. So if you guys want to DM me for any posing, you can send it through there. I'm not usually somebody who like plugs a lot, but you know, because sometimes people just like come and just DM me out of the blue, or I'll be at the gym and practice posing and somebody would ask me how, you know, I'm doing and how I can help them and with their posing. So I kind of like, okay, maybe it's time I should like offer it. And, you know, I'm just trying to like structure everything so it comes in much more easier and for new bikini competitors who are, you know, starting their journey.
Yeah, I love that you want to focus on the newbies, by the way. I think that's a great niche.
I like the newbies, you know, I think I can pretty much like, we can all relate to them, you know, and how it feels like, and just giving them feedback and critiques. And, you know, they're more, I feel like they're more receptive to it. You know, they're just kind
Mm-hmm.
of very like a sponge, you know, it's like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that. Like, okay, that's good. And it's just great to just help them. And if it helps them, you know, to like, I feel like somewhat it's paying forward, you know, in a way, like to give back what you've learned and just share that with them.
Love it. So I'll make sure that your Instagram handle is in the show notes. Whether or not that's the exact handle, pretty sure you got it right.
Oh my gosh, and that's how I'm getting old, that I can't keep up with like even one, you know, social media account. Then it's like, okay, this is okay. I need some help.
Oh, that's great. Well, it'll be in the show notes page, you guys, as always, on celestial.fit/podcast. If you are listening right when it's been released, that'll be at the top of the page. If you're listening in the future, scroll down to the category section. It's alphabetized, and you will be able to find her episode there. Not just with the links on how to connect with us, but also a full breakdown of the episode. So you're going to see a summary, kind of like what you'd find on the back of a book. You're going to see bulleted list of all the topics we covered and episode timestamps, which means you can tell your teammates, your friends, your family to listen to these specific parts that really stood out to you, or post it on social media. Let us know what you took away from the episode. Tag us after you listen or as you listen. It always means so much to me as well as the guests, because we get to get the word out more about these incredible women on the show. So thank you all for listening. And Theresa, thank you for coming on.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate it. And again, thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. Of course. Well, to everybody listening, hope y'all have an amazing rest of your day, night, or morning, wherever you are in the world while you're listening to this episode. Just make it awesome.